welcome to NameHero. I'm Ryan, the founder and CEO, and today we're back with our Web Hosting Heroes segment, and I'm joined with NameHero Director of Infrastructure, Mike Young. Mike, how's it going today, man?
Hey, it's going great. It's Friday. It's sunny. It's summer, so you can't complain too much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, it's good talking to you again. The last 2 weeks were a little crazy, so I wanted to pick back up this week. During the summertime, and this is kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit today as a topic. I like to spend my summer months, kind of reviewing stuff and working on optimizations. What we see is people get outside more in the summertime, obviously. And this allows us to really slow the hustle and bustle of the day-to-day activities here at NameHero, as it seems like support inflow kind of eases up a little bit, and as well as new customers and stuff. So it gives us as an organization time to optimize stuff. But me personally, I also optimize my workflow, and am I spending more time doing one thing or another. And so the summer months are a great time to kind of review that and look at it. And for me personally, it's some of my favorite time of the year to work, because it's hot outside. I do like to go outside and enjoy the nice weather, but man, it's sometimes it gets cooking. So it is nice to kind of have a break from the hustle and bustle, but also to be able to review that stuff and to be more efficient, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I was just at lunch with a friend, and he mentioned a book he was reading called Atomic Habits. I don't know if it just came out or not, but it's kind of just about looking at, what are you spending your time on? How do you switch up routines and things like that? And I think I'm long overdue for it. So I'm going to go probably check that out. But you're right. Summer's a great time for that to happen. And everyone's outside and busy. So, which is nice. It kind of gives us a little bit of a break from the support load, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. My kids, they love playing outside, which I think is awesome because my younger kids, I'll say, because I've got teens too. And the teens, they like to stay in their room. So it's always like pulling teeth to get them to go outside. Whereas the little kids are like, hey, Dad, can you take us to the park? So yesterday, I'm trying to finish up as quick as I can. And Carter literally came down here and he got onto my desk and started, getting in front of my monitor. Like, no, Dad, it's time to get off. We're going outside. And I was like, all right, son, I take your hint. Let's go. And we had a really good time. But
yeah, nice. My cat does that to me too. When it's time to get away from the computer and go do something else, something will let you know.
Yep, absolutely. Let's talk. So on that note, I was talking to someone the other day and we were mentioning reseller hosting. And at NameHero, we power thousands of resellers from all around the globe. And, a reseller in our context, they'll buy packages from us at NameHero. Most of them start with our reseller hosting packages, and then some expand out and get VPSs or cloud dedicateds as their business grows. But the summer months specifically are, in my opinion, the best months to get started with reseller hosting. And so whether you're a web developer out there watching, or you're your web developer, WordPress plugin, theme, or you have customers that you're doing marketing for and you're looking for an additional service to offer them, our reseller hosting really fits that perfectly, because you're able to white label all of NameHero's web hosting packages and create your own packages, set your own pricing, and really you're off to the races with a reseller hosting business. The summer months are an excellent time to set this up, because what we see is as we end the summer and get into fall, the business really picks up. For whatever reason, the fall's always been busy months, especially Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that. But just in the fall in general, we see schools starting back. So people are back in universities and colleges, and they're, starting websites, they're starting projects. So it's a fantastic time if you're out there watching and you're thinking about jumping into the business. I really think the summer months are a great time to do so. With that said, reseller hosting in 2022, how's that look? I read somewhere the other day, and I've probably mentioned this before, is the industry continues to, kind of grow at this exponential curve. And I read somewhere too, that, this year alone, the growth compared to last year is supposed to be upwards of somewhere 25% year over year. And I just think it's crazy how in 2022, I remember 2002, how the growth continues for web hosting, specifically web hosting based services.
Oh yeah, and it's just going to keep growing. I mean, it's not only just basic websites anymore, right? It's applications. It's stuff that when you download an app on your phone, that's hosted somewhere. It's in the same lump, and I think that's just going to keep growing more and more and more. Obviously, COVID really is it in a way kind of helped growth keep going, because now we're even more reliant on all this technology for sure. Yeah, so, and kind of building on what you were saying about, if you're into reselling, another way to look at it too is maybe you're not into reselling, but maybe you design websites, right? And maybe as part of that, you're always, your client's like, great, I got a site, but where do I host it? Or maybe, you want to actually start having more control over that. It's definitely a good time to assess, looking at a smaller company like NameHero, because, we're here to work with you. Cheap prices already, they're really low prices and solid performance. So when you think of reselling, it's also anyone who's doing any kind of website design or maintenance too, having it all in a spot that you like. You can make quite a lot of money in addition to just what you're already doing, by charging the client a little bit more for, hey, not only am I gonna, take care of your site and do all this, but I've got the maintenance. We'll do the we don't have, to worry about that. And then you can charge them extra, and there's some extra money for you. So it's just one other thing to consider.
Yeah, and I think the term itself, reseller hosting, or even the term web hosting, in some sense, it's a little bit outdated, because nowadays people don't always say, I'm a web host, but we're a marketing agency. And then the site maintenance, they call it sometimes site maintenance or site upkeep, and that kind of includes the hosting to it. So if you're out there watching, you don't always have to call it hosting. You can say, hey, we're going to go ahead and power your site. Because that term, whatever reason, if you look at the Google trends of just web hosting or even reseller hosting in general, you see that going down. Then you go look for more specific based, and maybe that's WordPress or create a website, that's going up. So when I'm using those terms, I always like to think, going forward, it's not always, we're not always just offering web hosting. We're actually offering a service that powers not only your website, but maybe that is your application or even your business in general. Because one part of reseller hosting as well is you're able to power your customers' email as well. And I think that's also something that I see a lot here at NameHero is our resellers, they'll sign up their customers, whether they be the web designer or an agency, and then they're able to set up their end users' email boxes and set that up on their phones and all that, and offer that as a service too. So really the opportunities are almost endless in terms of what our resellers are able to offer to their customers.
Yeah, and I think the concept has remained the same since but you're right. I have noticed web hosting or websites that tends to go down, while you see like apps and things like that. That terminology is going up, but I feel like a lot of people maybe think they're different, but ultimately they're the exact same thing. It's just now you're just accessing a website from your phone, and we call that an app, right? But it's still hosted on the same infrastructure, essentially.
Exactly right. I think you nailed it on the head there. The concept is the same. The concept of it is the exact same. We can use different terminology, and I think that's really important, especially those just getting started. Understanding that it's so niche specific. When I started NameHero specifically, someone said, hey, you're going to start a web hosting company in 2015. I was like, well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And, I had to start in a specific niche, because if I try to, go tackle GoDaddy's audience right off the bat, I'm going to fall flat on my face, especially if I go to AdWords and try to bid on, web hosting or even some of those top terms. But instead get more niche specific, and then you're able to carve out your initial audience and then grow outwards from there. And I think that's where I know that's where some of our most successful resellers lie. I've referenced this on our YouTube channel many a times. I watched a reseller legitimately get into the healthcare niche, and what they would do is they would approach doctors' offices or doctors-based services, urgent cares, and they started building and designing websites for them. And it was amazing watching their business grow, because these individuals, they have too much going on to go off and design their own website or whatnot, or they go spend all kinds of money at a really corporate-based service, whereas this individual was actually going out to their offices and helping them provide the information and setting all this up. And it was really amazing watching their business grow, and it continues to watch that grow. So I think the niche is very important.
Very, very important. I remember going down, this was years ago, but most kind of when I was in like sales/product management, but we actually made a trip down to Florida to visit our largest resellers at the time when I was working at Liquid Web. And one of them was, they kind of just specialized in golf courses. So they would just kind of approach golf courses and things like that. And then just kind of same concept, they just hosted all these sites for all these golf courses, and they're doing very, very well. Starting off with a niche though is always the way to go. You can always expand from there. So maybe one day we'll get that race car, the NameHero race car, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Nothing would please me more. And I love going fast, not just, and I know you do too, after, talking to you, it's not just, I don't just like my servers going fast. I like to drive fast, I like my cars go fast. So having a NameHero race car, I think would absolutely be ideal.
Here's the proof. I got a Draggy right here. So I like to take that out and, test the speed of my car. So
that's awesome. Like we were talking, I finally figured out my car has the Sport Plus option or Sport Plus mode. And it's like, well, why else? Why do you need another mode? Sport Plus, that's what you need. You don't need the Sport or I guess the Eco mode is kind of nice, but for nowadays with the gas prices, but still, I like everything going fast. So for sure.
Well, next time I'm down there, you got to take me out in the real mode of your car. I want to see how that thing.
You might have to sign a release on that because
fine.
It will go. For sure. So let's talking more along the lines too of app specific e-commerce store. I think that's a term that is really, really blown up. Watching Shopify grow their business, there's so many we saw this during COVID that businesses that were traditionally brick and mortar, or even maybe they're Amazon sellers or selling on eBay, setting up their own customer storefront on their websites. I've also seen a lot of that, and a lot of those companies, they don't know how to do it, so that's why they're strictly using eBay or another platform. But I've also seen resellers target that as, hey, we'll build out your store, and I think that's really one that has a tremendous growth right now because they're actually going out and not only setting up the site, but setting up and importing their products onto their site. And so I think that's another really growing niche for our resellers out there, or potential resellers.
And there's still a lot of potential there. I mean, there's a lot of plugins and things like that. You can work with all these APIs to keep everything in sync. So even if you are still, selling on eBay and Amazon, which is a good thing to be doing, they're going to get the biggest audiences by far right off the bat. But even me on eBay, I've noticed over time, fees start to go up. You start to look at the cut that they're taking. And it can be 20-30% of what you're making. So if you can offer a service to people that still works with everything they have, keeps everything in sync, but hey, now if someone comes to this and buys it from this store, you can charge less, and then you're going to keep more money. I think that's going to be pretty compelling down the road. So I think we'll see a lot more smaller versions. It won't just be the Shopify, the eBay, and Amazon. We're going to see a whole ecosystem of smaller players in that space.
Absolutely. And when Facebook really started getting popular, and then they came out with their Facebook pages, people said, well, that's going to kill websites. And no, not at all. What we've seen is, the website's the home base of the business, right? Or, that's where everything goes, and then everything ties into it. So to your point with the stores, yes, eBay and Amazon, you provide fantastic platforms. But me personally, when I'm shopping, I buy a lot of stuff on eBay, and of course Amazon all the time. But eBay specifically, those that will watermark their images, I'll buy stuff. But a lot of times, if I'm happy with the product I receive, I'll go Google whatever watermark is on that image to see what else they have. And I'll find their store and then go buy from there too. Yep. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'll go back and forth because sometimes they have exclusive just eBay only listings. And what I found in our field, in the tech field, is I go to their website and build out specifically what I'm looking for. And I found a fantastic relationship doing that. So
that absolutely.
So, I think leveraging those platforms together, using a website as a home base. And that's why, in our industry, websites, in my opinion, will never die. They'll never go away as long as the internet's around, because they provide that central home base that no matter what happens with eBay, Amazon, and while they're king now, things change, policies change too. We've seen that with Facebook as they change the way they allow things to happen on their site or be displayed. But as long as you have that home base, you always have somewhere for your customers to go, get support, or also inquire about their products, but also, of course, order products and be able to, buy more from your business.
Well, and have more control over what you're listing too. There's certain things where it's hard to sell that on eBay or Amazon for whatever reason, just due to restrictions or whatever. But when you have your own space, it's you're free to do whatever you want too. So.
Yep, absolutely. To this note, cPanel recently updated their themes and their inside their system. They depreciated Paper Lantern, and well, they're working on depreciating. It's not all the way done yet, and we've seen Jupyter come in. At first, I really didn't like the idea of it. Now, after getting around and using it, I really do like it. And I think it's going to provide our resellers an even better experience for their customers. Just the way it's laid out, the look and feel, the more I use it. At first, again, I was like, oh man, another theme change, but I'm actually liking it now. It seems very lightweight and friendly, especially in the web host manager itself, which we provide with all of our reseller hosting packages. So our resellers can easily manage all their sub accounts and all the accounts they create underneath of theirs. I know you've spent a lot of time in there too recently. What's your thoughts on the latest rollout of the Jupyter Web Host Manager and cPanel?
I was kind of like you. Anytime you see a new visual change that's big, you get so used to just this is how cPanel or WHM looks, and to see that change, you're just kind of like, whoa. But it is, I think it's quicker. And honestly, these days, it's kind of like after a week or two of using it, it's just like, this is now the new normal. I like the search functionality. I feel like it's a lot better, a lot more helpful now, especially in WHM. And after doing a couple, I know we had to move a couple different reseller servers over the past couple of weeks, which is why we've been busy dealing with that. I've noticed a lot of them are taking the time to kind of brand, their client area. So then cPanel actually, it's got their banner in there, or it looks different. So it's cool to see that. There's at least, I'd say maybe half the resellers are doing that right now. The other half that aren't, if you haven't done that, you should really consider doing that. Because I don't think it's too difficult. cPanel gives you a lot of different tools there. And you can even customize stuff like if you want to, I believe you can do that, like take away features, add features. So if you really just want to offer a real basic, simple service, you're tired of having your customers be like, what are all of these things? Well, then then just show them 10 things, right? And then that's all they need. So there's a lot of power there. I think a lot of good new updates in that last release. So I'm happy with it. Nothing shaking.
And it's interesting. So my youngest son, Cruz, he's 3 years old. And when he was actually in the hospital getting born 3 years ago, is when cPanel announced this tremendous price increase. So I'm sitting here dealing with, the birth of my son, which he came early too, 4 weeks early, premature. And so I'm in the middle of this, and literally I get a Slack message from our team, and they're talking about in our channel the cPanel price increase. And I remember at the time, everyone was really, really mad that cPanel had increased their price, whatever it was, 500%, 800. And at the time, I couldn't deal with it because I was taking care of my son and wife and family. But I was also quite upset with it. Seemed like it came out of nowhere. But nowadays I look at it, and cPanel, they certainly they were charging a lot less, because back in the days when they developed that pricing, you could put 100 accounts on a server. With the cloud, you can go a lot higher with it. So, I agree that was needed, but now, I see it's actually worth the pricing. But at the same time, I was talking to someone the other day, they're going to go again here next January and raise it even more. So, where is the right pricing? I'm not quite sure. I know where that is, but I know that was a big concern. But the thing I haven't seen is other control panels really step up to the plate in front of cPanel to really compete on that market side. So I don't know your thoughts on that. It just brought all this talk about it, and being July or June here when they announced it 3 years ago, it's brought up a lot of thoughts.
Well, you'll see today, it's between cPanel and Plesk, right? And Plesk is still a preference. I haven't really looked at pricing recently, so I don't know what the difference is there, but I know between those two, the functionality is very, very, very similar, if not almost identical. I think but those are the only two major players in the space. So there's cPanel, Plesk, and then there's all these other open source things, but the problem with that is there's not much, doesn't seem momentum behind it. There's everyone's familiar with cPanel, so that's kind of like the default, or Plesk. It's kind of risky to go with anyone else at this point until someone's kind of shown a track record or there's some really compelling reason to go there. Otherwise, all we're tending to see now is kind of custom built panels, and I don't know what's underneath these. I don't know if it's custom code or if they're just you're just using those and then just making it look different. But you see all these like WordPress specific hosting sites, and they've got their own custom dashboard. So it's not cPanel, or not, it's just It's just here are these features. But that seems to be in a different space, and there's no single company behind that. It's just all these, it's WP engines and you name it. So I don't know. I think it's time for other players in the space. I have seen a couple smaller, what was it? Mark was showing me something that was like CPAPI or something like that, which looked kind of cool. Yeah, it's we'll see what happens with the pricing. I think cPanel is just in a spot where they can do that. They can, because where you get, if you're a massive company and all your stuff's on cPanel, what are you going to do? Migrate?
Exactly.
You can, but oh boy, is that not going to be fun. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and that's someone I was talking to. They during this price increase, and they're at another organization, not NameHero, and they had started to they're an executive at another web hosting company, and we're talking about they started to migrate off of cPanel, and the customers, they were really confused about what was going on. It wasn't as user friendly and all that. So to our resellers out there, we offer a free WHMCS license with our gold package, then on upward from there. And I think that's also a very powerful piece for our resellers to use, because they're able to automate their deployment. They're able to automate their billing and easily set up their own billing system and forward-facing customer website, without having to code anything, and that's all included inside of our reseller hosting package.
And again, it comes back to, that's going to work with generally Plesk and cPanel the best. Maybe there's support for something else there, but all of those types of tools plug in, they work really well with those control panels too. So we'll see what happens in the future. But yeah, so far I'm still happy with cPanel. This doesn't seem to break as much as it used to, so that's always good. It works more often than it doesn't, so that's good.
Yeah, I like, on the admin side, I feel like they have a lot of they make it easy for system administration. I of course love doing things through the terminal, but WHM, it's nice to be able to get in there and to do some stuff and be able to see it visually. And I think our resellers really enjoy that too on their end, as they're able to easily create accounts and then remove accounts if needed, change passwords, virtually log in. These tasks, it just makes everything simple. And I think combining that with WHMCS is certainly ideal. So, those of you out there looking at reseller hosting, is it right? Is it the right time, or is it not? It's going to be July here in a week, or not even quite a week. Yeah, but I guess we got about a week left of June. But now's the time to jump on it, because before we know it, we're going to enter September and October and start getting to the fall, and that's where that business really starts to pick up. So by creating now, spending the rest of the summer getting things developed and put together, then you will be far ready for the fall rush. And they can continue to begin offering this to your customers if you're not already, and see a nice increase in revenue for the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. And on that note, kind of making sure they're ready. And it might sound a little crazy now because it just turned summer, but consider when Black Friday hits and the holiday rush hits. And if you have a handful of clients that are selling e-commerce shops, like, now is a great time, even if they're on board, to start assessing, is everything set so that when there's a huge rush of traffic here, are they even going to be able to stand up? Because if they can't, and they fall flat, the site's not responsive during that time, they very well may go out of business or go elsewhere. You just lost a customer, right? So when it's slow like this, is a great time to kind of assess your customers. Are they all performing well? And I've got some tips I can go over on that in a bit. But just basic stuff like caching. Caching is going to be huge. Just, hey, do they got excessive plugins, or just a bloated website? Are they using a CDN? Are they as fast as possible? And we're always trying to make sure we're doing that here at NameHero, even for the resellers, just by setting up the servers, the hardware. And we're more than happy to assist with that. But there's extra steps you can take beyond that. So over optimize right now while you can. And get ready for that rush, because with e-commerce, that's make or break. If it's the big Black Friday sale and your site's been down that whole time, you got to wait a whole year until you got that week where there's a bunch of traffic, but you kind of understand. I think I believe I helped you with that. You had a customer at couple of years ago who was getting ready to do some big launch or something like that, and we kind of figured out what that might look like, hit their stuff in a test environment, and I think it actually ended up going well. So definitely if you haven't done that, reach out to us, and I'm more than willing to help kind of explain how that looks, and we could probably set something up and Make sure you're set up for success.
And that's, I mean, those are all just, that's such good advice there, Mike. I mean, nail head on. At NameHero, our infrastructure is designed to be extremely fast. And so we're able to offer that same infrastructure to you and your customers. Now, when your customers get on, every website is specific to itself. And, we don't know, as your customers sign up, we're not sitting there, every single site that comes on, we're not able to see that and dive into that. We can see it, but we're not know when it comes on specifically, or we're not monitoring that. But, if you have that customer that comes on and they've got a million different plugins and they're getting ready for their big shopping season, that site can be optimized. And the thing about it is, it's not that difficult to do. You just have to get on and kind of look at it and put those optimizations in place. So the web hosting package, that's a big piece of it, but then actually tying it in all together. And, if you're expecting a rush of traffic, and Mike, I remember that customer now, and they did it, the launch went very well. The site stayed online and it performed well. But during the summer months, while the shopping season has not quite hit, you've got the ability to plan ahead for that. What's it going to look like when it does come to be Black Friday or Cyber Monday? Are we going to fall on our head? Do we need to add a VPS, or do we need to add a dedicated server for that customer? I think those are all important things to do. And then you might even get to the point, I think, if this customer, Mike, maybe we did or discussed it, is using tools like LoadStorm. Let's go flood it with traffic and see what happens there. Is it able to withstand a mock, kind of a mock trial there to it? I think that's also very beneficial for customers, especially those that are doing these massive sales, because it's such a huge opportunity to capitalize on for your business. And if you fall flat on your face on it, it doesn't look good, right?
Well, and on the flip side too is, and it's easy to do this too, is where you have so much cash in place and now the performance is great and you get lost on that, but then you realize, like when you go to the cart, you can't buy anything, or this new product and sale I added is not showing up because of these caches. But that comes back to a lot of the cPanels that come a long way over the past 5-10 years. You can go into the users and make sure they're on the latest PHP version that'll work for them. Make sure Opcache is huge for performance gains. If Opcache isn't enabled, just click check for them. I mean, that right there is already going to give you a massive boost. Are they using a CDN? Yes or no? Boom, sign them up for Cloudflare. I mean, between those two things, that's going to get you at least 50 to 70% of the way there. The rest of this is just with the code and the plugins and all that. But it's really simple to at least do that. And then, just go run through web page test or some basic, LoadStorm, or what is it, Load Impact. There's a few others that are like that. And just make sure that they can stand up now. If anything, if you make their sites a little bit faster, odds are they're probably going to rank a little bit higher, which means they might get some more business. So that's just more that could be the difference between, hey, I don't have enough money to pay this month, or I'm shutting it down, to, hey, I'm making more money now, so let's keep expanding. And that's good for you as a reseller, and it's good for us because we're hosting that infrastructure. So it's win-win all around.
Yeah, you said two really important things in there. One, making sure your customer is on the latest version of PHP. Yeah, so at NameHero, we've set our system version to normally whatever that latest stable version is.
7.4, I think, right now.
7.4 right now. We're about to switch that up to 8. However, if that customer, and maybe if you're a reseller and that customer is being migrated in from another host, well, when that website's migrated, when we're performing those, we will typically set, or not typically, we will set the same PHP version that they're using at their current host, because we don't want to break the customer's website. If they're using 7.3 and 7.2, we have secured versions thanks to our partner Cloud Linux, and we're able to set it at that. Now, they're going to get a lot of performance benefits by upgrading that. Now, we don't do that by default when they're migrated, because we don't want to break the site. So yes, you check your customers' websites. Are they on it or are they not? Well, put them on it. And then if you need to upgrade a plugin, go ahead and do that. But then the Opcache, literally that's a checkbox inside of the cPanel select PHP version, clicking that, and then, making sure you have a good CDN. But as you mentioned, that's 70 to 80% increase right there, just by doing those 2 simple steps. Or 3 simple steps, latest version of PHP, Opcache, and a CDN.
Yeah, and we've already kind of tweaked the Opcache base default. So if you do enable it, because you can get in trouble there if you don't set it to revalidate, because if you're updating code and then none of that gets updated, right? But the way we've got it set up is a good middle ground to where I think it's like it'll cache for like every 5 seconds. And then, you can modify that, but that way, it's you're still getting a speed boost. And if you're constantly making changes to the code, just wait 5 seconds, right? And it'll update. So we've already got that there too. So it's definitely worth checking out. And it's a real quick and easy performance gain. And also we're starting to put Memcached and Redis on some of our, we started newer nodes, and I think some of our older ones still have that on there. So that's something you want to take advantage of as well. There's tons of plugins for WooCommerce, WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, all those where you can simply just point it to the local Memcache server. There you go. Your site's faster, loads faster. We love you because now you're not hitting the disk as much, which is great for us, right? But if you're not hitting the disk, it's faster. So there's a lot of options there. And again, anyone watching this, if you're like, I'm interested, I don't know where to start, or reach out to us. You can just say, hey, let me talk to Mike Young, and then they'll just send the ticket over to me, and be happy to work with you on that. So.
Yeah, and so caching is such an important thing. And I know some customers are hesitant, and because you mentioned that when someone goes to put something in their cart and wait a second, it didn't add to my cart. And some customers have had that experience in the past. And so they say, well, I'm just not going to use caching. And it's like, whoa, don't do that. You could actually set, don't specifically cache certain pages, or you can, also set things in regards to like the query string and such, because you don't want to say, well, I'm not going to cache anything because one time I tried to enable caching and it broke my functionality, and so now I don't use it. Actually work with this. We'll work with you on that to help troubleshoot. Hey, there's certain things that maybe you don't cache the cart page, but everything else you still want to cache.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's you could set it up so it works perfectly, but if I'm trying to load up on my phone and it's taking 3, 4, 5 seconds, I'm probably not going to buy anything anyway. So, and in that scenario, it's just as good as having a really fast site that is so cached you can't buy anything anyway, right?
All right. And we also enabled this year our partnership with QuickCloud, so that they are with Lightspeed. It's Lightspeed's one of Lightspeed's other companies, and it's a QuickCloud CDN. And so basically, in your WordPress install, you install the Lightspeed cache plugin, and then you just go in there and you click on CDN, and you can set up QuickCloud right there, and it will actually register you an account for free with them, and then you can set up that whole CDN that route. If you don't want to go the whole Cloudflare deal, you can just do that right there inside of your WordPress dashboard. And it literally takes 5 minutes to do without having to go off and go set up a whole separate service. So it's really super simple to get that CDN set up for your site. So then your images and stuff are going to load much, much faster. Being able to distribute that to offload that work from your hosting account.
And you can still use our DNS as well. So that's a nice benefit there with Cloudflare too. You can still take advantage of some caching. If you want DNS with us, great. Or if you want it there, whatever. But there's some options. So it doesn't have to be an all in one thing either. In a lot of cases, the more distributed it is, the better in a lot of ways. That way, if Cloudflare has a big outage, well, your DNS is still up, or vice versa. So something to consider.
Yeah. Good stuff. And you mentioned that it's a Cloudflare outage. I've used Cloudflare for ever since they got started, but really in the last decade, I can't recall ever Cloudflare having a major outage. Yeah. And I got woken up this week. Ablash, supervisor night shift, he was calling me, and every time Ablash calls at night, and I'm asleep, I always know, it's not good. And Cloudflare actually had one of the worst incident that I can recall, to where they had a complete outage for a little bit, and the NameHero main website went down for a bit. Thankfully, they were on top of it and got things back going. And I think the outage actually lasted maybe 10 minutes, and then things were back. And it was fully resolved in like 45 minutes. But man, that was kind of crazy to see a CDN or provider, Cloudflare, so big, or a network such as big as them, to actually have a service impact that large.
It happens. It happens. If I remember, Facebook was down for like 20 minutes one time. It's like everyone was freaking out because they're like, what are we doing? Stuff like that does happen, but luckily it's not too often.
Yeah, I tweeted them and told them thanks for. I tweeted Cloudflare, said thanks for the wake up call. And you're right. Yeah, stuff happens, and it was likely they're pushing an update out, or rolling out some code in the evening hours, and something went amiss. And of course, with computers, things happen sometimes, and that's why you have as much redundancy and stuff in place. But sometimes things do come about, and I was glad to see them right on top of it, though, and it didn't last long. So. Sorry about that, Mike. I hit my mic button there for a second. You still there, Mike?
Yep, still here.
Okay. Yep. All right. Good to go. I pulled out my my ears there for a second, so my sound went mute. Last thing I want to talk about really quick, while we're on the subject of resellers, Cloudflare, CDNs, and all that, is about our new always-on DDoS protection. And I haven't spent a lot of time marketing this yet because we're just getting it rolling. And as it gets rolled out to all the servers on our network, I'll come out with a nice marketing piece so you can share this, you resellers, with your end users. But we enabled, we saw this on Elon here in the last 2 weeks, Mike. It's always on DDoS protection, and it's through path.net. And it actually monitors each packet that comes into the network, is inspected. Is that packet valid or not? So traditionally with DDoS protection, it's looking at, what's the rate coming through? Are we getting hammered from a specific IP or a group of IP ranges, at a higher transfer rate? Are we getting bombed with it? But this actually inspects every individual packet that comes in and validates it that it's not malicious. For example, if you're going to see a DNS packet coming through 443, for HTTPS to DNS, there that's not a real package. That's something malicious is going on, and this is being rolled out at NameHero across our network, which is a tremendous selling point to you, the reseller, because you're able to offer this to your customers. They don't have to worry about DDoS protection because it's included and it's always on. And that's a feature I have not seen at other web hosts out there to offer to the reseller specifically. That's always on, working on a service level such as this.
Yeah, that's just like included, and a lot of times, maybe you have to pay an insane amount per month or year to get access to something like that. But that's a huge benefit. You're right, as a reseller or anyone underneath us. Make sure you're touting that, and I'm sure there's some kind of marketing material we can provide to them, or we can get for them, so that they can kind of put that on their site, because that's a huge thing. And actually, come to think of it, granted, I'm not too much on the security side, but I haven't heard of a case since I've been with NameHero of like whole server compromise or any of that. I remember I used to see that when I was working at a much larger host back in the day. I mean, you'd see that from time to time, but we've got really, really secure servers. I've not seen any of those issues. So this is even better now that we've got extra protection there, because DDoSs are real, and we're going to see more and more of them. It's more and more of an online world, and more people get angry at someone for something. So it's always important to have that kind of always on protection there.
Yeah, and nowadays it's becoming more of service-based attacks, versus just sending the whole server offline. They're hitting specific services, most often HTTP, but then they're also hitting DNS servers. And so being able to specifically examine those packets, that way we're not having an issue to where we're having to throttle like a whole service or something. It's actually working on that per service basis. And I was joking with our team the other day. We were setting up another firewall. Everything that comes in is zero trust. So unless we're permitting it to come in, it's not going to come in. So it's deny all by default. Only allow what we're telling it to allow. And so of course that works out well. But as with security, it's all these different layers. Just like our homes, we have a lock. At my house, for example, you've got a lock, then you've got a deadbolt, and then we've got a security camera system, and then we also have a security system. The more layers you add, the more protection you put between you and the bad guys. So that come in, you have to break down each single layer. So it's not just one, but a multitude of all of these. And adding that service-based, always-on DDoS protection, really does bring everything together nicely. And not only is it going to protect you from those attacks, but it's also going to save bandwidth. It's going to increase your performance essentially, because you're not getting malicious packets that are coming in that are essentially having a higher workload on your account or on the server as a whole. It's not even making its way through.
Right. Well, in addition, I mean, we've got Cloud Linux set up too, so that, I mean, other users who may be getting slammed or more traffic, we're also isolating that so they can't saturate everything. So when you look at it like that, I mean, from server level, even through all the way to through network, we've got checks and firewalls and kind of boundaries, tiny little boxes in place for everyone, to where it's stable hosting. So I think that'll just get more rock solid in the future.
I mean, you mentioned Cloud Linux, their Cage FS, their Cage file system, each account that's created on our servers. And for you resellers out there, when you're creating an account for your customer, it's the same thing. All of their files, they're using a cage. So that entire user is in its own cage. So when it's using PHP, it's actually using PHP from its own system there. So that way it's isolated from the rest of the server. So what's one big difference at NameHero is back in the old days, back in the late 90s and 2000s, if you had a popular website, you would always avoid a shared hosting package, because essentially one account could take down the whole server, which could take down your business. And it's not like that nowadays, especially at NameHero. Our web hosting packages, yes, they have a limit, and we are very clear about those limits. We put them on our selling page. We put them, all throughout our documentation. You know exactly how much RAM or exactly how much CPU that specific account is going to have access to. And you're allowed to use as much as that's allocated to that account. So you don't have to worry about, hey, if someone comes onto the server and uses up too much, it's going to take the whole thing down. So nowadays you're able to start with this type of package, and then as your website grows and you start to hit these limits, we put those in cPanel. You can see those and easily upgrade to either the next package, or if you do need a VPS, even you resellers for your customers, you can easily upgrade them to that VPS or to that cloud dedicated. So the third goal here at NameHero, aside from being affordable, aside from being secure and also reliable, but is also the ease of scalability. We want to make it as easy as possible for your customers to scale upward as their website grows, because that's the end goal, right? To every website is to get a lot of visitors and traffic.
And actually, on that note, one thing to point out, and actually I remember running into this a bit when I first started doing some testing, was, if you are a reseller today or you're testing out websites and you're on our infrastructure, you're gonna very likely at some point, no matter how much you've optimized, you're gonna hit a limit, whatever that Cloud Linux package limit, whatever that is. So when you see that limit, don't assume that's necessarily the max performance, depending, because you got to look at what package you're on. And in fact, if you're even doing any kind of testing like this, probably reach out to us ahead of time so we can figure out a sane way to do this. But I just want to point that out, because you might be thinking, gee, why am I only getting X amount of requests per second? I'm seeing all these other places everywhere else, and they're saying they're doing a lot more. Well, they're probably on a VPS. They're probably on a different level of package, and we can configure this too, right? So if you need more and we don't have a package that makes sense, talk to our sales team. I'm sure there's something we can do to figure that out. But I want to point that out before you start hitting anything with Blitz.io, because at a certain point, the DDoS protection, something's going to kick in. But to be fair, if you get to that point already and everything's up and going, you're probably in good shape. But I just wanted to mention that, because it's a common pitfall when you don't think about that. Oh, gee, why am I not getting the performance I want? Why, I'm trying to optimize it. At a certain point, that's just because of the Cloud Linux limits, which are there for good reason. But I just wanted to mention that there on the tuning side, because a lot of people will get confused or kind of stuck there, and they won't understand why.
Right. And if they go and view the reports inside of cPanel, sometimes they'll think, well, if I've hit a limit, that, the website was just all taken down. And no, it'll actually, it throttles that. If you're starting to hit a limit, we don't suspend your account. You didn't take your site offline. The specific users hitting that page while it's over a limit, they might see an error, but it's very isolated. But if you're seeing that very often, then yes, it's time to start tuning. A lot of times those can be resolved by caching, upgrading your PHP.
CDN.
CDN.
Then you're not even hitting the server in the first place. That's the best way to do performance. Is what's the fastest way to do a request? You don't have to send it, right? It's just boom from a CDN node, and that's gonna free up a lot of those resources.
Right. Yeah. And that's why it's important not to freak out if you're hitting those limits or seeing those limits. Like, first we can optimize, look at it, are you using a CDN? Is there other stuff we can do before upgrading? And then we can kind of evaluate what the situation is and, develop a plan around it. But for you resellers out there, we can also give you the ability to set limits specifically for your accounts. So by default, we set them all with kind of a set boilerplate that I've researched over the years, and it seemed to work very well for 9 out of 10 websites. But if you do have that customer that's starting to hit those limits on that, so I say start with our default, see where it goes, and then after you've made all those optimizations, if you're still seeing it, we can give you the ability to actually increase some of those on your end, so you can get very specific towards your specific customers, because no one knows your audience like the specific reseller knows theirs.
If you got 10 sites and 9 of them are very low traffic, and that last one's high traffic, then you likely can just give those other 9 sites just the lower limits, and then you can kind of shift that all over. So you have a lot of flexibility there. And it's nice as a reseller, because then you don't have to go pay Cloud Linux for all this stuff. I mean, all this stuff is boiled into the pricing we've already got on our site, which is already very, very competitive. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to go out and build a VPS and then go get a Cloud Linux license or get a cPanel license. You can do it. We provide all of that with our reseller hosting packages. And if you start to use up all your space and bandwidth, you can simply buy another reseller hosting package, and using WHMCS, you can rotate your customers through those.
Or a VPS through us too, and we can set you up there too, right? And in the near future, as we expand the new infrastructure, I think we'll have some really cool options on that front.
Yeah, we're working hard on those for sure, because that's going to provide a world of opportunity too, specifically for our resellers. I think there's so much more out there that we're going to be able to offer, having that flexibility. Because we definitely, we want to make you as a reseller. I always say in my emails too, to resellers particularly, when you succeed, we succeed. It's a relationship that we look at like an ongoing partnership. It's not just set it and forget it. It's a continual optimization. Looking at what do our resellers need, and what can we do to continue providing the highest quality reseller hosting experience within the industry. And I really do believe that NameHero is the top reseller hosting provider out there, as we have all these different features we put inside of our packages outside of just disk space and bandwidth. Everything your customer needs to operate their website and their business successfully, we throw it in that package, which I believe is extremely affordable with all the bells and whistles.
Absolutely.
All right. And one other thing is I was bringing up our site, we allow our resellers a free domain reseller account. So you can offer your customers domains white labeled to your WHMCS, so they can get not only the hosting package, but also a domain. And if they're at GoDaddy or wherever right now, they can transfer the domain to you. So you, the reseller, can offer that service to your customers as well. So
and CDN, right? You can offer, I know that I was hooked in there. I don't know if it's still the case, but you can also hook into all these other, Unify 360, there's the site scanner, what is it? It's a whole bunch of different offerings there you can take advantage of, which maybe we don't offer, but it's great ways to kind of, basically upsell and make more profit margin, but also make sure your customers are set. If they're getting hacked all the time, get something there to watch it. And we've got some of that protection already, but there's specialized services, that you can also hook in there. So throwing that out there.
Absolutely. And also we have those NVMe storage packages. And so, I don't know another reseller host out there that offers that in a reseller package, being able to offer that NVMe storage. So all kinds of perks there. If you haven't checked out our reseller packages, I suggest doing so. If you're a current reseller customer, make sure you're taking full advantage of all these features. This summer months, take this time to review your current customers, go through your cPanels, take a look at your limits. Is there optimizations you can make? Mike shared 3 very important and simple optimizations that you can do right now. Make sure you're running the latest version of PHP. Before you can tick it up inside of cPanel, select PHP. If it breaks something, go look at the plugins in WordPress. Are all those updated? Go look at the WordPress itself. Is it updated? Then make sure to stay on there. So latest version of PHP. Go enable opcache. That's just in the extensions section of select PHP. And then finally, make sure you're using a CDN. If you want to use a quick cloud CDN, make sure you have the Lightspeed cache plugin on your WordPress. Go in there and enable it. Boom, done. 80% increase right there. Just those 3 simple tips. So.
Yep.
All right. I just heard my kids get home from summer camp. So it sounds like a herd of elephants upstairs. And I'm sure they're going to be down here soon knocking on my office door. So I think with that said, we'll start to wrap up here. Mike, anything else you want to add before we close here?
Not for this week. Just happy to get through this week with not too many issues, and it's nice and sunny out. So I'm probably gonna be getting outside, walking the river trail here in a bit too. So
awesome, man. Yeah, and I love that tie-dyed shirt. It's awesome.
yeah, I got that good people, good times.
Yeah,
so it's a festival season too, which I'm looking forward to be taking some time off here in the next couple of months to go hit up a couple festivals. That's it's the best part of summer for me.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. And, it's finally quit raining here for the day. So I am going to be able to take them back out and go back to the park. So we'll get on with that.
It's everyone... Dakota, Mucky, and The Trip, by the way, in case anyone's interested. They're an awesome band that I caught down in Indiana. So if you're looking for some new cool tunes, go check them out.
Very nice. Absolutely, man. All right. Well, Mike, thanks for joining me. Everyone, thanks for watching here. If again, I say every week, if you enjoyed watching us, we certainly appreciate that thumbs up that says, hey, you really enjoyed it. So we'll continue on with content similar to this. Today we talked about resellers. So if you're a reseller or a potential reseller and you like to give us that thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give us a thumbs down. I got thick skin, but you can take it and we'll work on it.
Just tell us why, though. Just tell us why.
Give us feedback. Let us know why. And let us know. Maybe you didn't like Mike's shirt. Maybe you didn't like my tattoos. I don't know. Maybe you didn't like the content, but let us know. Don't just give us a thumbs down. But I think we have had all thumbs up so far. So I do think people are enjoying it. I trust that you're out there enjoying us talk. But also subscribe to our channel if you have not already, because this will hit YouTube first. And I actually just worked on the SoundCloud link a little bit today. So I'll get that put in this description of this video so you can subscribe and listen to us on the go while you're outside for the summer months. So thanks so much for watching and listening. It's our pleasure to be here every week with you. And next week, I will be out of town, but we're going to get back on schedule. So I know it's been a little bit hectic, but we will get back on this weekly schedule every single week. So you can't miss us. But that said, thanks for using us here at NameHero.com.